Hello, welcome back to the Healthy Doubt blog on the Common Sense channel. Today's topic is called The Road to Enlightenment. Very interesting topic, maybe a slightly longish blog as well. How do we begin this? Let's say I want you to think of a dog, and let's say the dog is covered in ketchup. So, yeah, a dog covered in ketchup. Can you imagine that? Yes, you can. You can think of you get a mental image of a dog covered in ketchup. Let's try another one. Can you think of a needle, something as tiny as a needle, and it is piercing a ship, something as large as a ship. So a needle is piercing a ship and it's lying at the bottom of an ocean. Can you get an image of that? Yes, you can get an image of that as well. Now, the way that you create both these images in your mind is by the capacity to imagine things. In fact, imagination is the default state of functioning of the human mind. Are there other aspects to the mind as well? Yes, there are. So let me show you your mind or let me show you the human mind in another way, and which is kind of given by this diagram. So this image or diagram is one that I first used in the Book of Death, and this entire thing is supposed to represent the human mind. What it's trying to show you is that there are basically two parts of the mind. The eyes on the left, this is a part that is seeing. You are perceiving the external world through your eyes. Then there is a part that is in the center, which is kind of shows a brain that's processing something, and then there is a part on the right which is a heart. So the eyes are like a gathering tool. You gather information of the world from your eyes, and then it moves you to your mind. You kind of process that information, and then you store those impressions in your heart. That's in one way, that's the entire mind itself. That's a way of looking at the entire picture of the mind. Now, once you have stored something in your heart, there is a negative or positive emotion that is associated with something also. So let me get my pen and let me give you a kind of an example about how this happens. So let us say that you're going to have sushi for the very first time. You have never had sushi before. This is an absolutely brand new experience for you. So in that case, what's going to happen is your first experience is going to be felt with the eyes. You are basically gathering information, and then whatever that information was, you are processing it, and then gradually whatever is processed, you have formed an impression about it, and it has come to this part. So this is the flow of information when you do something for the very first time. Now, the second time and every subsequent time you encounter sushi or any experience, you already have some kind of residual memory or positive or negative emotion about it. And so what happens is next time the flow of information, you see something and automatically it evokes a positive or negative emotion, and that moves the flow of information in this way. Terrible handwriting, terrible sketching, all squiggly lines, but okay, whatever. So you move the inflow of information in this way. And so what has happened the second time is you are seeing what you believe. This is true for all things. This flow of information, the direction of flow of information is very, very important here. And the second type of flow of information, the one that goes from the heart and lets you see what you're thinking, is responsible for all imagination. So you could imagine a dog covered with ketchup because you already know what dog and ketchup is. You could imagine a needle piercing a boat because you already know what needle and boat is. In this way, how do I get back to this? In this way, imagination is the seeing of something in a certain way because you already know what it is, or that you think you know what it is. In this way, you can also imagine a dog running on a ship. So, because you have the tools, because you already know what those things are. And remember, this is the default functioning of the mind. Only when you encounter something for the very first time do you use the observation part of your mind. Now, this same thing is true for enlightenment. Everyone already knows what it is because they have become familiar with this word at some point in their life. And because they're familiar with it, they already know what it is. But of course, they know it through imagination. Now, whenever you use imagination, you are using this left hand, this part. By the way, yes, this is the same slide I showed you in the video called Two Hands. And all this content is kind of related. It will all link up eventually. But as you also know, all the content in, or all of my content is coming from the right hand, this side. It is a certain way of lifting the universe. We call this mysticism, or addressing the mysteries of the universe in a non-imaginary way. Now, you might have thought that that is science. The right hand is science. It's not mysticism. So, what is the relationship between mysticism and science? Let me try to point that out. Science is the already discovered part of mysticism, and mysticism is the yet undiscovered part of science. That's how I would see these two terms, science and mysticism, correlated with each other. But because the human mind is like this, because everyone happily jumps onto imaginary concepts and also brings those concepts into conversation, most people will go around talking about imaginary things all their lives. This is another gem from this series. I have tried to write them down as individual slides so they stand out. All these conclusions are the ones we are deriving right now. So most human beings will remain untouched by reality and go around talking imaginary things all their lives. My favorite of these is, when someone passes away, you're at a funeral, and another person will come up to you and say things like, "It's all in God's hands." This is the greatest mystery in the universe which has just taken place. Someone has died. It is the most profound moment of a human life, and an imaginary answer is immediately used to cover it up. For all things in the world that you don't understand, you already have imaginary made up answers. Before you can wonder at it, somebody will give you a nonsense answer. Nonsense here does not mean rubbish. Nonsense just means factually incorrect and imaginary to some degree. Now, enlightenment is also the same. Think about it. If your concept, whatever that concept may be, if your concept about enlightenment is wrong, it is just disillusionment, isn't it? Think about this a little slowly. Take all the time in the world to understand it. If your concept of enlightenment is wrong, what is the difference between that and disillusionment? Effectively, you cannot tell the difference between enlightenment and disillusionment. Effectively, you cannot tell the difference. So, only enlightened people should talk about enlightenment. The rest of us should talk about this road to enlightenment. Why? Because the road to enlightenment is real. Enlightenment is just a concept. And you use the left hand to see enlightenment, and you use the right hand to see the road which is real. There is great power in the truth. There is an overwhelming strength of reality over imagination. That is why you will often find people in love with the road. The road is real while enlightenment is not. Not real, remember, not real means it's just imaginary. That's all that it means. Now, this is one of my favorite quotes by Bruce Lee from this movie. I think it's from a movie, Enter the Dragon. He is talking about the road to enlightenment here. He says, it is like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory. But the only difference is he is calling it a finger pointing to the moon and not the road to enlightenment. It is actually the same thing. You say road to enlightenment, or you say finger pointing to the moon, or you say the way to get to any goal. You'll find that naturally your mind focuses on that which is more real. So if your goal is to get a degree and the way to get to degree is to go to college, you know that the degree is real. So you focus more on the degree and less on the college, or in this case, of course, both are real, so you will focus on both those things. And if your goal is to get to enlightenment, you focus on the road, because somewhere in your mind you know that the road is real and the goal is not. This is also the reason more people love religion and very few people love God. But let's not go there. Let's come back to the topic of our blog, the road to enlightenment. Let us say for a moment that there is such a thing as enlightenment and there is a road or a pathway to get to enlightenment. In this case, what is the road made up of? The short answer is it's made up of everything. But what are the major components of this everything? The most important component of this road to enlightenment is time. Time means the moment of civilization when your road has been built. What you see on the road, the landmarks on the road, belong to the civilization the road is constructed in. 300 to 400 years back, we would build a different kind of road. Now we will build a different kind of road. Another important component of the road is the language it has been built in. If you cannot understand the language, then you cannot walk the road. It may not be your road. So if your guru is talking in Spanish and you don't understand Spanish, you cannot follow that road. Another thing is knowledge. Knowledge is a function both of the civilization you are in as well as of the one who speaks about the road. But can you compare two roads? If you can evaluate content, then yes, you can compare one road versus another. Or you need a master who has created two roads. Can you think of an enlightened master who has created two roads to enlightenment? I can. Osho was one such enlightened master who created two roads. But how and why? Why does a master create a road to begin with? Why does anything happen? Why does anyone tell you a story? If you have seen something amazing, if you have gone anywhere wondrous, it is imperative on you that you must tell other human beings about it. And think, what do they understand? How can you tell them about this thing that as yet they have no idea about? so the master builds. Painstakingly, he builds a bridge. He creates a series of steps, and walking on these same steps, you too may reach the same place he speaks of. This is what Osho did. This is what every enlightened master did. This is the road to enlightenment. But remember, here I'm telling you about that Osho built two roads. This is the road he built in English, because in English the terms are limited. All the building blocks are not there. So this is what the road to enlightenment looks like in English. But this is what the road looks like in Hindi. It is the same road that Osho built, but all the building blocks were already there. Because enlightenment is an Indian concept. Multiple masters have existed in this civilization. They have created the building blocks over and over. Multiple masters have refined the building blocks over and over. And so the road that Osho builds in Hindi is like a superhighway. If you understand both English and Hindi, try out both these roads. They lead to the same place, but the journey is completely different. And this is why it is much more relevant to talk about the road to enlightenment than about enlightenment itself. That the enlightened people talk about enlightenment. You and I should talk about this road. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this video. If you have any questions or suggestions for other topics, do let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.